Now, of all the different calendar apps we have to choose from today, I think there's one that most people should be using, and that's the native calendar app on our iPhones. Now, don't get me wrong, I still use things like Outlook Calendar for work or Notion Calendar for this channel just because I can really tailor that to my needs. But as far as my go-to everyday calendar app for things that I want to get done throughout the week, the Apple Calendar app has become my go-to. Now, I'll be first to admit that for the longest time, the calendar app wasn't very good and it lacked some important features that I was looking for in a daily calendar app. But as I mentioned in a previous video, over time, Apple has made improvements to their native apps and just their ecosystem as a whole. And I finally think there's enough here for me to use this as my daily calendar app and hopefully convince you guys to do the same. So with this video, I just want to share what's possible in the calendar app, how I've been using it, hopefully help you guys get the most out of the app and just help you be a little bit more productive in this new year. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to touch on that's new with iOS 18, but some of you may be aware of at this point, is the new ability to sync reminders and the calendar app. For the longest time, this was one of my biggest issues with the calendar app and is actually one of the reasons why I stopped using it a couple of times. Now to do this, you're going to want to go to the calendar section within the calendars app and check the box that says scheduled reminders. And if you wish to see any reminders that you've already completed, you just come down a little bit further and click Show Completed Reminders. And if you're having trouble finding this on an iPhone, just look at the very bottom and click on the word that says Calendars and the same section should pop up. And for those of you who just want to create a new reminder without leaving the Calendars app, you can now do that by just clicking the plus icon and switching the tab over to Reminder. Next, I want to touch on another new feature in iOS 18, and that is the new custom calendar views. With the latest update, we now have the compact, stacked, and detailed view. The detailed monthly view is probably the biggest change here. Before, the monthly view used to only give you gray dots to show you events, which honestly doesn't give you much information and honestly isn't really that useful. But now you at least have the option to get a glimpse of your events without having to click on the day. You also have the option to pinch your finger to show more or less detail. And if you're someone who maybe wants a little less clutter and maybe a more aesthetically pleasing look to your calendar, you can use the stacked view, which will allow you to just show the color-coded bars for different event types. Now again, this is just a really nice feature. I use different colors for things like personal life, work, and YouTube, and it's just nice to be able to glance at my calendar and remind myself of the things that I have scheduled for that day. The next thing I want to touch on is something that isn't necessarily new, but is something that I feel like is sometimes a bit underutilized, and that is including notes, attachments, and URLs to events. When done correctly, this feature can give you a lot of useful and necessary information for a given event. This includes agendas or meeting notes, or even a link to a flight that shows real-time updates like flight status, the terminal, and even the flight number. Now, just to give you guys a couple quick examples of what I mean, every week I have a meeting where we kind of go over a research paper. So here I have attached the article that we're going to be going over. Go back. And then if I have any notes that I want to include, which I typically do, then I just come here to Apple Notes, come up to share, and then I'll just copy these notes and then come back to the calendar app and just paste them in here. And then if I just click on the meeting again, now here I have the notes that I want to reference, and I also have the paper that I can just click on and pull up quickly. So this is really nice, and I more or less do this every week whenever I have a meeting and just things that I want to reference during the meeting. So another feature I've been using over the last year or so is whenever I have to go to the airport or pick somebody up from the airport, I will include a link to the flight that I can click on. Let me click on it here, and it'll just pull up a bunch of flight information that you can reference whenever you need it. So you'll get stuff like, what time it's taking off, where it is in the air, also what time it's gonna land. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll get information like the baggage claim carousel and the terminal they'll be exiting from. So yeah, really nice, something I've been using over the last year or so. Now, one thing I just wanted to quickly touch on is the connectivity between devices. Now, this is really nice and something I've talked about in other videos, but just the ability to make an event on my iPhone and have it show up on my MacBook, or do it on my MacBook and have it show up on my iPad and iPhone, it's just really nice. I think it's something that can be a little underrated sometimes, but it's just really nice and convenient when you do have it. So just something I wanted to mention here. Now, another feature I wanted to touch on quickly that I use pretty often is the ability to include the location for an event and also be able to factor in the travel time to get there. Now, I really like this feature because just by adding in the location for the event, you can quickly pull up directions on how to get there. And by turning on travel time, you can make sure that you factor in things like traffic and just ensure that you get to your event on time without being in a rush. Now, obviously, I love the calendar app, but there are some things I'd like to see in the future. For one, I would like to have incomplete reminders just roll over to the next day. Right now, I just find it kind of annoying if there's something I didn't get completed that I have to go back, kind of change the date and switch it for the following day. So it'd be just kind of nice if it just automatically just rolled over. But there you have it, a few features that I find extremely helpful and that I use on a regular basis. If you guys have any questions at all, please let me know down below. Have a wonderful day, and I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.